Guys, welcome back to my channel and welcome back to another week of What's for Dinner. If you're new here, hello and welcome. I am Taylor. I'm a stay-at-home wife and mom, and I share these What's for Dinner videos every Sunday to hopefully motivate y'all to cook more for your family and to give you guys some meal ideas. So if you like these kinds of videos, I hope that you will subscribe down below. I've got 7 yummy, delicious dinner ideas to share with you, so let's go ahead and get into the video. Tonight for dinner, it's going to be a really easy dinner. It's Friday, and I like to keep Fridays pretty simple. So I picked up this Parmesan encrusted tilapia at Aldi, and I'm going to cook these in the air fryer. It says in the oven 400 degrees for 18 to 20 minutes. So I'm going to do somewhere around that at the same time, and I'm going to flip them halfway through. So I'll probably check it around like 9 minutes and flip them over. There's 4, I believe, in here, and it was like $5.69. I'm gonna make 2 now. I'll have one and the kids will split one, and then I'll make the other 2 when Andy gets home this evening for him for dinner. He'll probably eat one for dinner and then take the other one for lunch tomorrow. I'm gonna make a super easy box of mac and cheese, and then in the Instant Pot I actually have green beans and potatoes going, and this is a recipe from my friend Tamara over at Southern Wife Everyday Life. She did a Instant Pot video the other week, and I will put that link to the video down below, as well as a link to the recipe down there. Since she shared it in her video, I wasn't going to show you me making it. I will just link to that. But I'm going to go ahead and get some water boiling for the mac and cheese and get these in the air fryer. And here's the finished dinner. These green beans and potatoes in the Instant Pot were really, really good. They were made with frozen green beans, and you couldn't even tell kids thought they were canned, and that's how soft they turned out. And the tilapia was really good. It said Parmesan encrusted, but it didn't really have a Parmesan flavor, but the breading was still really good, and it was really crispy, and I would recommend trying those. On Saturday night, I made sticky honey chicken. This is actually a recipe that one of y'all sent me last year sometime, and we really enjoyed it. So I think this is like the 3rd time I've made it. I started off by heating up some olive oil and butter in my cast iron skillet, and then I added in about 2 pounds of boneless, skinless chicken thighs, and I seasoned them all over with salt, pepper, garlic powder, and onion powder, and I cooked those over medium heat until they were done. When the chicken was done, I removed it from the pan, and then I began working on the sauce. This sauce is so good. I think next time I might actually double the sauce because it's that good, and it'd be really good with the rice. So I mixed together 3 tablespoons of soy sauce, 3 tablespoons of tomato paste, 1 tablespoon of minced garlic, 1/3 cup of honey, and a teaspoon of sriracha, and I simmered that over medium heat for about 2 minutes until it thickened. Once it had thickened, I added in the juice from half of a lime, and then I added back in the chicken. The recipe wants you to shred the chicken, and I did do that the first time, but we thought we would like it better with it cut up, which we actually did enjoy better this time, so I recommend just cutting it up. The texture, I think, works better. That's what we prefer to do. And then I simmered that chicken in the sauce for another 2 minutes. So I just like to serve this over my perfect white rice that I make in the Instant Pot. I will leave the video for that down below. And then we served it with some zucchini as well. The recipe has the chicken paired with a coconut rice. So if you're interested in that, that is linked in the full recipe for the chicken down below as well. As I said before, this is like the 3rd time I've made it, and it is super delicious, and I highly recommend this recipe. It is Sunday, and tonight for dinner we are doing BBQ Pork Flatbreads. I have 2 of these flatbreads. I picked these up at Aldi on markdown, and so I just stuck them in the freezer and I pulled them out earlier. And then I also had 3 of these little mini naans still in the freezer, so I'm going to make those as well. So I've got the 2 flatbreads, 3 mini naans, and I'll have like some veggies or something on the side. I'm preheating my oven to 425, and I'm going to cook these for probably about 5 minutes just to warm them up, and then I'm going to put some barbecue sauce on and some of this pulled pork. I shared this in last week's What's for Dinner. I made it in the crock pot. And I just put the leftovers in the freezer. And then I pulled this out this morning. So I'll put that on. And then I've got some mozzarella cheese and some sharp cheddar. I'm going to shred these up while my flatbreads cook. These flatbreads ended up being so good. We had leftovers of them the next day for lunch. They reheated really well in the air fryer. And as I said, we just had it with some veggies. Andy just had tomatoes. Lily had cucumbers and tomatoes. Elijah had cucumbers and carrots. And I had a little bit of all of those veggies. It is Monday, and tonight for dinner I am making lasagna. So it's actually going to be really easy tonight because when I made spaghetti last week, I actually cooked up 2 pounds of ground beef. And then I froze this after it was cooked and I drained all the fat. And I actually seasoned this with some salt, pepper, garlic powder, onion powder, and Italian seasoning. So that's why I wrote spaghetti on it, because I knew I wanted to use it for spaghetti, or we decided to do lasagna. So that is thawed out. I also thawed out 1 jar of homemade sauce from the freezer. And I have another jar of the marinara from Aldi here as well. I'm probably going to do about 1.5 jars of sauce, so that's why I pulled that one out too. Since I don't have to cook the meat, I'm just going to mix the sauce and the meat together in this bowl. I'm not even going to heat it. And then I'll put some in my pan. I've got that here. I've got some oven-ready lasagna noodles. I say this every time. You don't have to buy oven-ready lasagna noodles to not boil them. Even regular lasagna noodles do not have to be boiled. You just have to make sure that you use enough sauce or add some water to your sauce to make sure that the noodles cook all the way through. So I've done it with regular ones and oven ready. Aldi, my Aldi at least, only has the oven ready. So that's why I buy these. But it's usually cheaper to buy just the regular ones and not cook them. But I don't like taking the time to cook them beforehand, so I don't. And yeah, that's what I do. So I will use those. I've got some cottage cheese because we like cottage cheese more than ricotta. I've got some mozzarella, some more mozzarella to shred, and some Parmesan cheese. And I'm just going to basically layer it all up. And then I will cover it with foil and bake it at 375 for probably about 40 minutes. And then I'll take off the foil and bake it for another 10. we just had our lasagna with a piece of garlic bread. I cooked up a loaf of the Italian bread from Aldi, and then I sliced it up and put some of the Chef Chamois garlic butter that I get at Sam's Club. I put some of that on it, and that was dinner. It is Tuesday, and tonight for dinner we are doing buffalo chicken quesadillas. I saw somebody talking about doing this on Instagram. I can't remember who it was. It was somebody random that I follow that doesn't even like usually post food content, but she was like, this is what we're having for dinner. And I was like, ooh, that sounds good. And I could make the chicken in the crock pot and it would be super easy. So that is what I'm doing. I've got 2 chicken breasts in here. They're still partially frozen because I forgot to pull them out last night. So, you know, it'll be fine. They'll just cook on high and it'll be all good. So I've got both of those in there, and then I've got this buffalo medium wing sauce from Kroger. It's not our favorite. It's actually not very spicy at all. So it'll be fine for the kids. And I'm not going to do too much. I'm going to do what's left in this bottle, which is probably about 1/3 of the bottle. So I'm just going to put that all over the chicken. And then I'm also going to sprinkle on some ranch seasoning. I just have, I think this is the Badia brand, just like ranch seasoning, just like the same kind you would find like in the packet. I'm going to put like, I think probably about 2 tablespoons. And then, as I said, I'm going to cook this on high for a couple hours, and then later, closer to dinner, we'll shred this up. After 4 hours on high, my chicken was done, so I went in with my little like meat masher thing, and I shredded the chicken and like stirred it all in with the sauce. And I thought it was enough sauce, so I just left it as it was, and then I just let it sit on warm until I was ready to make our quesadillas. To cook the quesadillas, I melted a little bit of butter in one of my large skillets, and then I put in the tortillas, and then I filled the quesadillas with a little bit of cheddar cheese, some of the chicken, and then some mozzarella cheese as well. And then for mine and Andy's quesadillas, I actually added a little bit more of the buffalo sauce. I had a different one. It was the Sweet Baby Ray's one that I picked up at Aldi. I added some of that onto our quesadillas for a little bit more spice, because as I said at the beginning, that one from Kroger is not spicy like at all. It has a really good flavor, but it's not spicy, at least to me and Andy and the kids. We like really spicy stuff, so to us it doesn't have like any spice. So I just cooked those up on each side until they were browned. And we just had the quesadillas with some veggies on the side again, some carrots, some cucumbers, some tomatoes. These were so good. Highly recommend trying buffalo chicken in the crock pot and turning it into quesadillas. And we even took the leftover chicken a couple days later and threw it into some mac and cheese for some buffalo chicken mac and cheese. And my goodness, that mac and cheese was so good. Wednesday was St. Patrick's Day, so I decided to make a traditional cottage pie. Prior to this day, I thought that like shepherd's pie was the same as cottage pie, but it turns out that shepherd's pie is actually supposed to be traditionally made with ground lamb. So cottage pie is made with ground beef. That's what I found out online. So I'm making a cottage pie, and this recipe was so good. Would highly recommend it. But I am starting off by making the mashed potatoes. The recipe that I used has you make the mashed potatoes on the stovetop, but I like to do mine in the Instant Pot. It can kind of do its thing while I worked on other things. So right here I am peeling, I think about 6 potatoes, which ended up being probably a bit too much, but I peeled them and then I made them into equal sized pieces, and then I dumped them into my Instant Pot on top of the trivet. I poured about a cup of water into the bottom, and then I sprinkled the potatoes with salt, and then I put the lid on, made sure it was set to sealing, and then these cook on manual high pressure for 11 minutes, and then I do a quick release. Once the potatoes were done, I used some tongs and I removed that trivet from the bottom of the Instant Pot, and then I used my potato masher and just mashed up the potatoes. And then all the recipe had you add into the potatoes is half a cup of grated Parmesan cheese and 4 tablespoons of butter. And I was like, man, there's no way that these potatoes are gonna be good with just that. But they were so good. I don't even understand. They were really, really good, and we really, really liked the potatoes this way. So that was all I added to the potatoes. While those potatoes were cooking, I was working on the ground beef mixture. So for this, I cooked up 1 pound of ground beef with some rosemary, thyme, salt, and pepper. When the ground beef was done, I added in some diced onions, celery, and carrots, and then I seasoned those with some salt and pepper. And I cooked those for about 5 to 10 minutes until the vegetables started to soften. When the vegetables were soft, I went in and I added about a tablespoon of minced garlic. The recipe did not call for this, but it just didn't feel right not adding any garlic to it. So I added that and cooked it for about another minute. Next, I added in 1 cup of beef broth, 1 tablespoon of Worcestershire sauce, 3 tablespoons of tomato paste. My tomato paste was actually frozen. I had this in the freezer. I let it thaw out a little bit, but it was a little bit difficult to get out of the bag. I stirred all that in, mixed it really well, and then I let it simmer over a medium-low for about 10 minutes for that sauce to thicken. Now my plan was to make this like all in the cast iron pan, but I ended up making too many mashed potatoes, so I had to transfer the meat mixture to a casserole dish, and then I just put the mashed potato mixture on top, and then I used a fork to kind of like get those little grooves in it, and then the recipe said to drizzle the potatoes with some olive oil, so I did that, and then this went in the oven on 400 degrees for 30 minutes. Once it came out of the oven, the recipe said to sprinkle on some black pepper and some chives, so I did that. And we just had this by itself. I meant to make some peas with it, which would have been really good. I just kind of lost track of time, and so we didn't end up doing that. But this was really, really good. I would just next time probably not make quite as many potatoes. I do really love potatoes, but the ratio was a little bit off. It's hard to, like, the recipe says 2.5 pounds of potatoes. I don't have any way to measure it. I had a 10-pound bag of potatoes, so I was just trying to kind of guess. But this was so good. It was the best, like, cottage pie, shepherd's pie kind of thing I've ever made. Okay, it is Thursday night, and tonight for dinner we are doing Copycat Taco Bell Mexican pizzas. This is not something I've ever done before, so I'm excited to try it. I planned on making my own refried beans again in the crock pot. That's what I had on the meal plan, but it didn't happen this morning. So I have a can of refried beans that I am heating up. And then this is super easy because last week when we had nachos, I did 2 pounds of ground beef and then I just froze half of it. So this is already cooked and seasoned with taco seasoning. So it is taco meat. I'm just going to heat that up in the microwave. I've got some pico to top it with. We've got some Taco Bell mild sauce and some plain Greek yogurt instead of sour cream. We've got some cheddar cheese, got some enchilada sauce, and then tortillas. The recipe says 8 taco size flour tortillas, and you're supposed to cook them on a sheet pan, but like 8 of these, or 4 of them, because you're gonna stack them, 4 of them would not fit on any of my sheet pans. So maybe they meant the like smaller ones, but then they'd be really small. I don't know. I'm going to do 2 on this one, and then I'm only going to do 3 because I don't think the kids would eat a whole one. I think they would each eat half of one. So I'm going to do 1 for me, 1 for Andy, and 1 for the kids to split. And then we can make more if we want more, or make more tomorrow for leftovers. But first, the flour tortillas have to be fried in some oil. So over here, I am heating up some oil. And we're just going to fry each tortilla for about 3 to 4 minutes until they're crispy. And then I will lay them on the baking sheet so they can be ready to top. And then I'll top them with some refried beans and some ground beef. Put another tortilla on top, and then put on some enchilada sauce and some cheese. And then I'm preheating the oven to 400, and they will bake for 8 to 10 minutes. Okay, these are done. I don't think I've ever had a Mexican pizza, and I don't think that you can get them anymore at Taco Bell. I feel like I remember somebody saying that they don't have them anymore on the menu. I feel like I remember that. I've seen a couple of people make these recently. If I can find their videos, I will link them down below. I've seen quite a few people make them. But on mine, I did olives, and then I also topped it with a little bit of guacamole, a little bit of the Greek yogurt, sour cream, and some pico. As I said, the kids are splitting it. They've got some guacamole, and then I've got some chips on the table. So those are theirs. And then this is Andy's, and I've got all the toppings out so that he can put those on his. But that is going to be dinner for Thursday. These Mexican pizzas were delicious. We all loved them, but it was way too much food. Nobody could finish their food. I think Lily ate both of her pieces of the half. Elijah only ate 1 piece. Me and Andy each ate 3 of the 4 pieces. So I definitely think it should be the smaller tortillas. I think they're like the fajita size ones, the fajita size flour tortillas. I think those would have been a better size, and then we wouldn't have had like so much that we couldn't eat. So definitely recommend doing that. And then another tip would be to make sure you don't spread the enchilada sauce all the way to the edge. If you want to be able to pick it up and eat it like a pizza, make sure that you have like room to pick it up like the crust of like a pizza. So those are my 2 recommendations, but we really love this. I would definitely make it again. And that is going to be it for this week's What's for Dinner. I hope that you guys got some new dinner ideas. If you did, make sure you comment down below and let me know what you guys are going to try. I hope that you guys all have a great week, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.